Hey, everybody, and welcome to some prime video content from the Fantasy Cares YouTube page. I am Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse. He is Zach Reed at Tacit Assassin 13, and he is what's your name? Robert Bobby Bob.
I'm just a nobody.
Just a nobody at Bob Gilchrist FF for some fantasy football goodness. We are going to do a somewhat quick but very informative 2023 rookie Superflex mock draft. Because let's face it, if your league is not Superflex, you can just take those QBs and just at least push them to the end of the first, because I mean, it gets a little, but we'll talk about that also a little bit. But so we are going on the auspices of a 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium league. I mean, let's call it 1.5 because that is the usual. I know the Trade Addicts leagues are 0.75, and I'm seeing a lot of 2-point per tight end reception leagues, which that I get that it's a 0.25 difference, but it's still that feels so spicy saying that too. It's like the difference between the 112 and the 201. It's just one pick, but it's more than just one pick. So we are going to go in the order here. I made a very fancy high-tech board right over here. Order of Bob, Russ, Zach, and we're just going to go over and over again. And I know a lot of people like to say, we're going to treat this as these are each individual teams. But if you ask me, you don't draft much team necessary things. The point of a rookie draft to me is draft for value, and then later you trade for your need. So we are going to just go on a value basis, not necessarily anything that, well, I took a wide receiver in the first, so I'm going to take a running back here. We're not going to do any of that anyway. So I have a very fancy list that I stole from at JMikeCheck. Thank you, JMike. We love you. And I probably should have told you we were doing this, but I didn't. But let's go. Bob, kick us off. With the hardest pick, who are you going to take at the 101?
I'm going to trade out. Oh, you can't trade yet? This isn't Trade Addicts? Okay.
I'll throw you 24 seconds to jump up one.
Oh. No. I'd need a first. So I'm going to take Robinson, and I'm going to hold him for a king's ransom because I don't need him if I earn that 101.
This is the rough part where if you earned the 101, it's a little tough because you don't usually need a running back. But I like what Bob said because he's very, very right. Of course, this is your team. You do whatever you want with it. If you need a quarterback because you earned the 101, take a quarterback if you can't move Bijan. But if you are in an active league, I think Bob is right. You take Bijan and you figure it out by the time the season starts. Because once points come on the board and people realize, wait, Atlanta rushed the ball a whole lot with Tyler Algier, I think they'll probably do that with Bijan Robinson. Does anybody have anything spicy to say about the 101?
No, but where you just said, if you need a quarterback, take a quarterback. But I've also listened to this really smart Dynasty analyst named Dynasty Outhouse who tells me that it's the non-point scoring season and I don't need anything right now.
I clearly agree with that brilliant, beautiful man you were talking about, but I know it is a different kind of person that thinks that way. If you're in 2-3 leagues and you just like to play, you're not necessarily trying to be strategy heavy. You just like the players you like your teams, you like in May and April looking at your roster and setting your lineup, which you don't need to do, but I don't want to tell anyone they're playing wrong. So yeah. If you are that kind of player that the lineup matters to you and what you draft here matters to your roster, I just want to say you're not wrong for taking a quarterback here.
Absolutely.
You can do whatever makes you happy.
And the other thing is, no matter what we say and no matter the advice we have, you know your league better than we do.
Yes.
And so if your league is not an active league and you have earned the 101 and you are in dire straits at the quarterback position, then yeah, fine. Go ahead, make that pick. But I am with Bob in his assessment of you take Bijan Robinson, you watch him ascend to the running back one, you watch running backs start to come back in vogue when Bijan is good, when Breece Hall is good, and people start pushing running backs back up the board, and you get that monster haul for Bijan Robinson.
I love how Bob's just like, I said it right the first time. I'm just
absolutely
silently.
He got it.
You guys are just repeating what I said. Yes, so, I mean, last year I have one league that I definitely had earned the 101. I got Hall. I earned the 101 again. So now I've got Hall and Robinson. Still don't have a quarterback, but we'll see.
You have a good running back core at least. Now comes one of the fun little moments where there's going to be some variety in the way your league goes, because at least I still think we're at a point where the next 3 picks are going to be 3 quarterbacks, but the order of which they go off will probably be different in a very large amount of leagues. I think right here, 99% of the time, I'm going for fun. I'm going for ceiling. I'm going for Anthony Richardson because Stroud and Young are very good. They landed in the spots we thought they would. You know, they pretty much went exactly. They are who we thought they were to try and fit that in. But Anthony Richardson got the draft capital, got drafted to a team who was ready for a mobile quarterback by the staff they chose. And I get it. Richardson's not the greatest thrower in the world, but it doesn't matter. Give him a year, give him 2. He could be very, very good. And he is worth the risk of not hitting his ceiling if he comes close to hitting his ceiling. So I think this is a recent change for me to not just take the safety of Stroud or Young, but I'm going with Richardson at 2.
I like it. That's exactly what I would do. I think you get that. He's the only quarterback in this class who has the overall ceiling of Josh Allen, of Lamar Jackson's years where he was the QB1,
which hopefully is coming back,
of Jalen Hurts, of Justin Fields. Like he's got the rushing ability that gives you that ceiling of the overall top quarterbacks. And I don't think the other players in this draft do.
What about you, Bob? Would you have taken Richardson at 2?
I'm starting to think that way as well. I listen to people that are a lot smarter than me. 2 of them are on this stream with me. And if they're willing to do it, sounds like a good idea.
All right, Zach, who are you taking at 3?
Easy pick for me here. Bryce Young at 3. He was my clear, based on quarterback evaluation, my clear 1 until the draft, and Anthony Richardson got draft capital. And so it's easy for me to take Bryce Young here at the 103.
All right, Bob.
It scares me. He scares me. I have a tendency not to go after smaller quarterbacks. Tua and Kyler Murray. Sometimes it comes back at me. Sometimes it doesn't. But I'm afraid to be. I'm afraid to have that 3-4 pick. As I said pre-show, I traded him away because I don't want to make that decision.
See, but I love that you're picking here because we get to see, is this risk aversion worth skipping over a quarterback right now?
No. This is Superflex.
Yep.
The value is there. I can still move him before the season. We're not drafting for our own personal thing. So we are going to take CJ Stroud here. And
I moved a little slowly in case you were going to drop like a Will Levis bomb on me. I was ready for it just in case.
Yeah, capital. If the NFL will invest, so should you.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And now becomes this is the stress moment, because I feel like you aren't super wrong with any of these 3 quarterbacks you go with. Like, I think they all will be starters. They will all have more than enough time to see if they work out, and if that's the chance, they'll still hold their value. And that's what's really important here is, yeah, you want to pick the right player to be on your team to create that dynasty, but the truth is, even if you're a little wrong, you want to try and keep the guys who have the most value installation, and quarterbacks drafted in the top 4 of the NFL draft are going to hold their value for a while. So I agree. I think the quarterback, even if you don't believe in the quarterback, is the right way to go. But now. So I know that we like to lean running backs in rookie drafts because they produce immediately. And I have always had JSN in the 5 spot because I'm just a huge fan of the player. Seattle, really? And I know we're not supposed to change our values based on landing spot, especially with wide receivers, because we've seen it too much. Like, we're going to call it the A.J. Brown rule, because that's really was the one that kicked us all in the pants. You know, he was a lot of people's wide receiver 1. He fell to the end of the first, and he was awesome, and he still is awesome. But I think I can't pass on Jordan Addison, who is so close to my liking as JSN, and I get it. He's on a team with Justin Jefferson, but he's on a team with Justin Jefferson. Like,
who are you doubling?
There's going to be a lot of people guarding him, and he's really, really good. And this is now a team that's going to want to keep passing the ball more and more. So while I didn't know what I was going to do with this pick until I started talking. So I love that I actually walked this through in my head. But I am taking the last wide receiver drafted in the first round, Jordan Addison, at the 105 to the Minnesota Vikings. And I think I feel good about it. Like, I do. Addison was always in this tier of players for me, but he was at the lower end. It's only 3 players, but he was the lower end of the tier. But I'm going to stop talking now so someone else can. Zach is ready to talk. Go.
Yeah, that is ballsy, but also exactly what I have come to as the right move at the 105. Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith-Njigba pre-draft, pre-combine even, graded out equally, like right there. And because I had Jackson Smith-Njigba, rated higher all the way through the process, the fact that they graded out together tipped the scale just slightly to JSN. Now, you have the draft. They both get draft capital. But Jackson Smith-Njigba lands in Seattle, where he's probably not going to come out and usurp DK and Tyler Lockett in his first year. Like, we're in agreement there. Lockett's still good. DK Metcalf's fantastic. Jordan Addison, who skill-wise is very, very, very even with JSN, lands in Minnesota, where Adam Thielen saw over 100 targets last year. He's now in Carolina. Addison is fantastic, lands in a spot where they're throwing the ball, lands in a spot where they will throw him the ball. So not only do you have that top-tier wide receiver in this class, but you also have a top-tier wide receiver in this class who landed in a spot that should produce early on in his career. So you get both of those things with the Jordan Addison pick. I really like it, Russ.
Bob.
Yeah, he wasn't getting back to you.
Well,
that's for sure.
But would he have been your choice at 5?
Yes.
Okay, I love hearing that.
I same thing. Exactly what Zach said. It was the two of them.
All right. Well, then, Zach, does the Seattle landing spot push you back enough to take Gibbs here instead of Smith-Njigba?
No, and I break ties to running backs, but this is not a tie for me, and it has not been a tie for me. And yes, Jahmyr Gibbs got tremendous draft capital. Yes, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a back-end running back 1 for a while in Detroit, but it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's betting on the talent. It's betting on that top tier of receivers. It's pretty clearly been Jackson Smith-Njigba for me at the top of the wide receiver class with Addison, and they have always been in that tier just above Jahmyr Gibbs. They all got first-round capital. I'm not changing my mind. I'm willing to wait the year on Jackson Smith and Jigba for him to really assert himself and ascend to being a real target driver in Seattle. And I'm going to make that pick.
Yeah, I'm hoping there are people that are silly enough to see Smith and Jigba not blow up this year and start losing faith. Because like once we hit week 9, and because usually if rookie wide receivers hit year 1, it takes a couple of weeks. You get your outliers that just go nuts right away. But like if we hit that second half of the season and Smith and Jigba, he still should be doing well. I mean, let's put that out there. Seattle's defense isn't as great as it used to be, so they're going to be on the field a decent amount, and they'll need to throw the ball. I will be, and it doesn't have to be, it's not going to be cheap, but it'll be cheaper than it should be. So that's something I'm waiting on. So, Bob, you are up at number 7.
Well, it's going to be Gibbs, and he's going to take you out at the knees.
I was hoping you were going to do something silly, so I didn't put myself in another situation to have to make a complicated decision. But you did not do something silly. You took
so that's where I had Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Gibbs, the 3 of them, and you got to go with the running back. The value's there. The draft capital is tremendous, and it's a team that wants to run the ball. So,
and
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, like I was just going to say. So the pre-draft, there was a very clear top 7 to me, and the very clear top 7 was Bijan, the 3 quarterbacks, JSN, Addison, and Gibbs. After the first round of the NFL draft, all of those players got first round capital. So it's very clear to me that there's still a top 7, and it's those 7 players.
And here's my issue. Number 8, again, I put myself in a spot I hate being in to make a decision, and I hate making decisions.
You made the draft order.
I know, but I didn't think about it.
I tried to warn you, Russ.
And I know, because the thing is, while I do hate making decisions, talking things out loud always does help. And especially if I'm just here, blah, and they say something smart, it could help anyone who's watching. Number 8 to me was, okay, so even when I was trying to come to terms with the fact that Will Levis might get good draft capital, he was still down here to me. Like, if he got drafted in the top 5 of the NFL, he still would have been in conversation for pick 8 after these players that went. And it was a conversation between Will Levis and Quentin Johnston for me. And I still think I'm there because I like Quentin Johnston as a Quentin Johnston. I hate that there's 2 T's. It throws me up and it makes me throws me off and makes me put a T after every other letter. The spot to the Chargers is just so nice. It makes me sad for Mike Williams, hashtag Team Clem's a big wide receiver. What could have been if he could have stayed healthy. Or just taking a quarterback who's going to get a shot, because Tennessee, I'm a little surprised they didn't just do something silly and take him in the first. I love that they just waited to the second. They're like, all right, cool, let's just go get him. So they went and got him. So it's not like he fell to them, sort of. So I do believe that they're going to start with Tannehill, and that's fine. But how far do we let Levis fall? And I think I'm going to let it go one more spot. I'm going to let my bias. This might be the wrong choice. I just don't think I care, because having the big play guy in a Justin Herbert offense is just too much fun for me to gamble on Tennessee's quarterback that I wasn't thrilled with in the first place. So I think, and I know a lot of people could be taking Zay Flowers here because Baltimore's offense is not what Baltimore's offense was. Greg Roman's gone. I don't really know what a Todd Monken offense looks like, but it's got to be better than what it did look like for the past 2 years. But I'm still going to take the player I liked more in the first place to a team I like more in the second place and call that a day. All right. Well, Zach, you are up. And I first want to know how you feel. Like, I guess no. Are you taking Levis here? And if you are, would you have taken him at 8? You're not taking Levis here.
I'm not taking Levis here.
Okay.
And you spun yourself up, but worked yourself through a really good process. It would be Quentin Johnston for me at 108 or 108 is where we're at. So for the same reasons that you talked through, but also because he was a pretty clear wide receiver 3 in a tier by himself, I'm going to take Zay Flowers over Will Levis.
I get it.
For the same reason. Again, I had Flowers down in that next tier of wide receivers. I am higher on Will Levis than a lot of people are, because there are a lot of people who think Will Levis is terrible. But I'm also lower on the people who think Will Levis has the Daniel Jones, the Josh Allen ceiling. I think he's got a Daniel Jones ceiling. And so he's probably somewhere between quarterback 14 and 26 with like the overall, like maybe he gets a top 12 season or two. So it's pretty easily Zay Flowers to me, even in a super flex, even with the value of quarterback. I'm going to take the player that I think I want on my team rather than hoping that the value of Levis gets to someplace where I want to trade him.
How do you feel about that one, Bob? Before you do make your pick, well, you said Zay Flowers was in your tier above.
Yeah.
So you think Flowers was the right choice?
Yep. Yeah, I was definitely going that direction as well. Especially around the 8-9 pick area. You probably are set at quarterback, even though we know that you don't need to trade, you don't need to draft a position you need, but sometimes it can be difficult to get a quarterback in Superflex. You probably are all set. You were in the playoffs. You just need a couple more pieces. So yes, I'm on that route.
So what's the next piece coming off the board for you?
This one's a tough one for me because the value is Levis. And I think I have to take him, even though I want to take Dalton Kincaid.
You can take Dalton Kincaid if you want.
No,
this is your draft.
I don't want you, but I don't want you to get Levis. So that's
you don't know I'm taking Levis.
No, I think value wise, Levis is the pick here.
Yeah, I agree. I totally would have taken him if you did not take him.
This is wild. So right now we're 10 picks in. We have hit the exact order right now that I have on my post-draft rankings.
It's almost like we've...
Yeah, but you haven't seen my rankings. Like you don't know.
Okay, so...
Osmosis.
Yeah.
Enough listening to you. It sinks in.
Well, I'm glad you listened to somebody because I speak and you don't listen to me at all. All right, so you were talking about taking Dalton Kincaid here. I'm just going to keep rambling while I try and figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I do like the landing spot for Kincaid. How about you, Zach?
It's okay. I have a couple other tight ends above him, but I can see why Kincaid, why there's a fascination with Kincaid, both with the first round capital and with the landing spot in Buffalo, which is not a bad landing spot. You got a great quarterback. You got an offense that scores a lot of touchdowns. Unfortunately, it's not an offense that always throws in the red zone. So it's an interesting, and Kincaid probably isn't the first option and probably isn't the second option as a pass catcher in the red zone anyway, because I think you've got Diggs, who's amazing, and you've got Cook, who's a really good pass catcher out of the backfield. And so that puts Kincaid maybe as a third option, maybe a fourth option behind Josh Allen using his legs.
So I know again. Okay, so running backs, I think landing spot matters a lot more than it does for wide receivers. And I want to just walk into the draft room and be like, Pete, John, what were you thinking drafting Zach Charbonnet? Like, why? Why? Is Ken Walker retiring? Is that what's happening? Like that's because to me, he would be the easy next pick here if he landed almost literally anywhere else besides like Indianapolis. Like, as long as he didn't land behind Jonathan Taylor, like just don't put behind a workhorse back, and Charbonnet would have been the guy. But he landed in Seattle. And I know that they are gearing up to have a much different offense than we're used to, because they now have 3 very good wide receivers, a decent enough quarterback, and they have a running back who's very, very good at running the ball. Charbonnet is definitely more of a pass catcher than Walker is, but he's also not like a route running back either. So I don't know how this fits. So honestly, I'm kind of avoiding Charbonnet at this point, whether it's the right or the wrong answer. I get that we're doing tight end premium. I don't care enough, because I think there's enough tight ends I could take a stab at that I don't want to spend this on it. I think I'm taking Hendon Hooker. I get that he was drafted in the 3rd. I know the age and the injury come into it, but first of all, quarterbacks complain to their late 30s, so who cares if he's going to be 26 when he starts? Goff is good, but you don't want Goff as your forever starting quarterback. Hendon Hooker is good. I think he has a ceiling way higher than Jared Goff's. And again, if you want to put your team perspective into this, you're at the 111. You made it to the finals, assuming you earned this spot. You probably don't need him right now to play. But it's like the same thing as trading for Kyler on a competing team. You don't get him for a while, but all of a sudden, you're going to start him, and he's going to really help your team eventually. So I didn't expect to take Hendon Hooker this early, but I am, and I think I feel good about it. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't hate it. It's not the direction I would go, but I do not hate it, and I think it's a good bet, especially in Superflex leagues. Hendon Hooker was, talent-wise, my quarterback 3. So it went Young, Stroud, Hooker.
Yeah.
And when I do my fantasy analysis, that all of a sudden brings Richardson up to 1. But Hendon Hooker is a really good, solid quarterback. You've got a knee injury, but now he's in Detroit behind Goff. Means they don't have to rush him back. He's not trying to come in and play this season. He gets a year under his belt to hold that clipboard and develop a little bit, understand the play calling, play style, get used to the offense and the players surrounding him in Detroit. And that team is absolutely stacked offensively.
They're putting something together.
So I don't dislike that pick. I would probably get burned by trying to shine it on for another few picks before I took Hooker, and then somebody would take him ahead of where I was going, and I'd be mad. And so I don't mind reaching for Hendon Hooker in this range.
All right, well, you're up now. So who are you taking next?
So this is a fun one for me because pre-draft, this was my wide receiver 6 in that same tier with Zay Flowers. Post-draft, he moves up to the wide receiver 5 because Kayshon Boutte fell to the 6th round. Go Pats.
I was about to say, at least he fell to your team, right?
Yeah, but with a great landing spot and a 2nd-round landing spot, Rashee Rice to Kansas City becomes a versatile chess piece in an Andy Reid offense where he is immediately the number 2 target. And I'm really excited about it. He's got a little bit of that bulldog after the catch, that A.J. Brown type style. Not that he's A.J. Brown, but he's got a similar way about him once he's got the ball. He can be split out wide. He can run from the slot. He can get deep. And he can also play over the middle. So that is a real good combination with fairly high draft capital in a really the best offense in the NFL, maybe excepting the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's where I'm going, Rashee Rice.
I love that we now have first round, but we got to make sure at the last few picks, whichever guy the Chiefs drafted.
I mean, like, he was up there anyway for me, and with Charbonnet falling, and with Kayshon Boutte falling, and with the quarterbacks not getting the first round capital, it's easy for me to put Rashee Rice in. And I'll tell you a secret, and I don't want to spoil the next round, but like Jonathan Mingo's up there for me too. And
he was in consideration for my pick.
Yeah, and so like it's not that it's the Kansas City landing spot. It's that all of this stuff happened, and the Kansas City landing spot is a cherry on top.
But it was the same thing with like Sky Moore seemed like a great pick at the 203, and then he got drafted by Kansas City, and all of a sudden he's the 108, and I'm just like, I don't like that anymore. All right, well, Bob. Well, before we get to the second round, let's just recap the first. Bijan Robinson, which I have yet to see anyone else go 101. So there you go. Our three quarterbacks in our order: Richardson, Young, and Stroud. The next little tier stayed together in Addison, Smith, and Jigba, and Gibbs. And this is where your drafts are going to go, whichever way they feel like going. Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, and Rashee Rice. I think the first 9 picks, maybe even 10, in a different order, it doesn't matter. I think those are the first 10 picks. Like, I don't think you're going to have too many times where that goes differently. And then 11 is where you start going and getting your guy. And I see Bob like with a smile behind his eyes because he was thinking about taking Dalton Kincaid at the 10, and he's sitting here at the 201.
Yes, I know. I mentioned Kincaid, and Kincaid and Mayer are very close for me. So when I had only mentioned Kincaid, so I don't know which direction I should go.
Well, before you pick, is there anyone that did not go in the first round that you think should be in the first round?
Just Mingo for me is the one player that I think could sneak into that top 12.
And I guess me making the wrong choice in Hendon Hooker is the reason. No, it's okay. You can say it's okay.
It's
Zach.
Absolutely not. So I think you're right. And the fact that it's dealer's choice basically after the 110 in a Superflex, especially tight end premium, but a Superflex league. And this was last week when J. Mike and I jumped on and did the Dynasty Dummies episode and talked about trading into the picks 7 through 10. This is exactly why. Because this solidified, and now those picks are more valuable than they were 2 weeks ago.
All right, Bob, what are you going to do?
I'm going to go with Mayer.
Okay,
we talked him out of it.
I gotta be honest.
It could be. It could be talked out of it, but it could be that there has been so much over the last couple of years how he is the next Kyle Pitts.
Mayer is the safest tight end in this class. Like he is so good. He's Jason Witten, baby. He is so good and so consistent and has been for such a long time. We've gotten bored.
I'm gonna stick with him and hope that some of my Devi players come through.
Yeah. All right, so I am up with the 202, and I am. Okay, so I know I said that Jonathan Mingo was in conversation for my last pick, and I'm sitting here staring. You know what? No, I'm not gonna. I'm sitting here staring at Sharp, and I'm like, really, how far are we gonna let him fall? And then I see A-Chain sitting there. I'm like, he's in Miami, and that's where we wanted everyone to go. But I'm gonna stick with my process and say I like Mingo the player. I love the landing spot in Carolina because they need to build an offense now. And he's now the most dynamic player that they have. They have a lot of very safe pass catchers, actually, and I think that's great for their team. But we have a brand new quarterback, and we have a guy that he can grow with. So I think this can turn into a very fun combination. And while I understand, again, running backs are what you want to do in rookie drafts, my bias is always towards wide receivers and fun. And I think this is that pick. I think this is that fun bias pick that I'm completely okay doing.
I like and it. We get to hear Zach's next pick because he knew he was going to take Mingo.
Yeah, so Zach now has to make a decision.
And it is a decision because you mentioned A-Chain, and I think that he may sneak into the first round of rookie drafts.
I think there's a chance, yeah.
The landing spot there and the fact that he is really an obvious choice to replace Mostert in that offense at some point, in the future, but you're also going to see him get some pass catching work early, and he's so dynamic as a pass catcher. The other player that I'm interested in here and the player that I'm going to take, although I'm not This is not a confident pick. This is usually I'll make a pick and I'm like, yep, I'm happy with it.
Seeing a shaky Zach,
but this is a place where I'm betting on a lot of things, and I'm hoping that Russell Wilson last year is not Russell Wilson.
No, I changed my mind. I don't want to see a shaky Zach.
Betting on second round capital. I'm betting on a player that pre-draft I loved.
No.
Pre-draft, pre-combine, I went on 4 for 4 and said Marvin Mims is going to out Jalen Hyatt. And he absolutely did, and he absolutely has at every point in this process. It's going to be Marvin Mims. He got taken 63 overall at the very end of the second, and he's going to start off my second round in this draft.
Right now.
I appreciate
so
that.
Mad at you. Because he was going to be my pick at 5 again over the running backs. I probably should be taking. I'm so happy to see Marvin Mims with Russell Wilson. Like, that is the matching you wanted for him. Like, that is the player Russell Wilson does well with, and that is something they don't have on that team.
The best deep ball thrower in the NFL when he's right is Russell Wilson. One of the best deep threats in this class. He averaged 17 yards per catch over his career in college.
Can't even run 17 yards.
Oh, he's so good. And he can actually do some stuff after the catch. I really like Marvin Mims, and I like him in Denver.
All right, Bob.
All right, now you can put down Dalton Kincaid. The tight end is the second hardest position to fill in Superflex, especially in the tight end premium. I mean, you might as well take some shots at him in the draft. And because the only way to get one is to trade a tight end for some reason. That's my motto.
Yeah. Especially, tight end premium, sometimes like it feels like it takes priority over Superflex sometimes. Like, wait, tight ends get extra points? No. I'm not trading a tight end away unless you give me one. I'm like,
yep.
See, the thing is, again, I think I'm taking this the opposite direction with tight ends, where I'm late round tight ending it, and late round is the wrong phrase because you should start the run in the second, but I'm not here for that yet because I'm taking A-Chain. He's in Miami. He's in the spot we wanted everyone to be. A-Chain was a lot of people's running back 3 to 4, and he's good, and that's what matters. He's dynamic. He's little, and his name is A-Chain. I mean, that's good enough for me. So I'm going to take him here, and that's mostly because Zach ruined who my next pick was going to be.
I like the A-Chain pick, though, Russ. I think you got a steal value-wise on him. And for what that player is, he would have been my next pick. And Bob, I think you are absolutely right in it's really tough to find good tight ends in tight end premium. And right now there are only 3 or 4 that are really difference makers. There may be one in this draft class. And for my money, it's going to be one of Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, or Sam Laporta. And Sam Laporta is going to be my pick here. And he ended up, I mean, this is a good landing spot, great draft capital. He got taken 34th overall with Detroit in an offense that has been fantastic and got even better. And so that is where I am headed at the, what are we at? The 206?
206, yeah.
Yeah. So Sam Laporta 206. He'd be my 203 if you were, putting me up against the wall and putting your finger in my chest and saying, who are you taking? It would be Laporta.
Yeah, that's a good pick here, but it's Bob's turn, so I'm not going to tell you who my next pick is. Wow, glad I looked at the screen. I agree. Like, I like the idea of Mayer. I like the idea of Kincaid because he is just a big wide receiver. But putting Kincaid and Laporta next to each other, it's one of those things where I'd rather wait 5 picks and take Laporta. And honestly, it is pure landing spot for me. Buffalo has wanted to use their tight end for the past 6 years, and they haven't found a way to do it. I don't, at this point, think it's a player problem.
So pre-draft, my tight end rankings went Laporta, Darnell Washington, Kincaid, Mayer, and so Washington was my biggest faller for tight ends because obviously he didn't get the draft capital and ended up going to Pittsburgh, where I think he's going to be just another tackle. But
well, I mean, they have Allen Robinson, so they don't need anybody else to catch the ball. So, all right. So, Bob, who are you taking at the 207?
Well, Zach took who I was taking, so now I got to look at the board again. And I think this is where you roll the dice on Charbonnet.
Which is why, I guess it doesn't matter that I stopped myself, because I was going to also say I'm not going to let him fall any further. So now I have to make a decision next. I agree. Like
I'm very good at passing the decision on to you.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I think this is a great spot to be in, though, Russ, because I think there are 3 or 4 real clear choices that I don't know that you can be wrong with them at this point. Like there is potential to be wrong.
So many wrong decisions, it'll make your head spin.
There's potential to be wrong in the future with results, but I think process-wise, there's a real easy kind of way to be right with 3 or 4 different guys.
There's no way to be wrong, but there's 3 ways to be right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go over to running back, and I'm looking at these 3 players that were all drafted in the 3rd because I do think they're the right guys to go to next anyway, even though Roschon Johnson is staring at me. Kendre Miller to New Orleans. I like it. Kamara is still sort of Alvin Kamara. That offense was what it was, but he did not look like Alvin Kamara as much as Alvin Kamara should look like Alvin Kamara. I just want to see how many times I could say his name in one sentence. And so they need to move on to the next wave of running backs, and they haven't been able to find anyone that they feel comfortable putting behind Kamara because they even tried to bring Mark Ingram back. Like when that happens, you know something's wrong. And this is, again, another offense that is trying to push straight away to keep going. Like they don't want to rebuild. They want to just keep playing. So I think Miller is going to see time. He's going to see it right away, and they are going to want to work him in. I am not, this is like wavering Russ making a pick, but I think this is the right pick.
Like I said, you hit one of the players that is the right pick.
Okay, cool. That's close enough for me.
Yeah, to me, that again, there are 3 or 4 running backs there that, and I'm up now, yes, so I can kind of expound on this a little bit. So there are 3 or 4 running backs at this area. Kendre Miller was my pre-draft running back 5. I think he may be the second best pure runner in this class. I think that's a great pick. It's not the pick I would have made, but it would have been just a hair. And I know people are going to default to draft capital. I heard you say Roschon Johnson is staring you in the face. I am staring right back at Roschon Johnson here. I love the landing spot in Chicago. I don't think that there is very much ahead of him being a bell cow. And I know that we don't say that anymore because there aren't very many guys who can do that. Roschon Johnson played behind Bijan Robinson in college, so he didn't get much of a look. It was hard to see the things he did because he didn't get a very big opportunity to do them. But when he did them, he was the best pass blocker in this class. Easy. So that gets you on the field in receiving downs. He's a great runner. He averaged over 5.5 yards a carry. I know yards a carry is not a great stat, but if you look at what Bijan Robinson did, they did not lose a step when Roschon Johnson came in to fill in for him. He was a quarterback 4 years ago coming into college, and he was a great quarterback, threw for almost 8,000 yards, rushed for another 4, accounted for 85 touchdowns. He is just an athlete. He has learned to play running back, but he still has that quarterback instinct, so he's in the right place all the time, is a good pass catcher, is a great runner. I love the landing spot in Chicago, and so that is where I'm going. But again, there's still 2 more picks I think that you are right if you make them. At least now.
I love this because now it's like, Bob, you going to make the right pick here?
All right. Well, knowing me, it won't be. But I am looking at Tajay Spears is who I am looking at.
was also one of the guys I was considering for sure.
Obviously they're drafting someone to replace Derrick Henry eventually in 3 or 4 years.
Whenever he feels like stopping.
Yeah, when he decides to play elsewhere. They've been trying for years to find somebody behind him. He's been injured the last 2 years, I believe, at the end of the year.
He's missed a little bit of time for both.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tajay Spears here.
Yeah, he was one of the names I was looking at.
So dynamic. Like the burst to and through the line. Like he's, holy cow, is he dynamic. And he gives you something totally different than what Derrick Henry does. But I think that's a good thing. I mean, you get that change of pace and defenses are going to have to be on their toes.
All right, so we have 2 picks left in the second.
Levis is quarterbacking.
Yeah.
You need that extra running game.
Yeah.
I am not making the pick I thought I was going to make. I was going to take my shot at tight end here, but I see Tank Bigsby staring at me, and I don't want to let him go. I was a fan of the player. I'm just a really big fan of his name. Also, having nothing to do with the player himself. I mean, I like the spot in Jacksonville because he is 100% not Travis Etienne. And if you're going to land in a spot that has a running back, you want them to be completely different than the guy they have there already, because that means they can see the field right away and they'll figure out when and how they need to use him. And Jacksonville's offense is going to be so good. Like, I'm all in on the Jacksonville offense. Of course, getting Calvin Ridley, who's just going to catch every single pass and all of them for touchdowns. It doesn't make sense, but it's what's going to happen. But I like Tank Bigsby. I like the landing spot because I like the offense. So I'm going to take the guy I like a lot of things about before I say, well, this is an athletic tight end who lands in a decent spot, so I'm just going to do it. So yeah, that's enough of me talking.
I love that pick, Russ. I love it. And it's funny because normally I go pass catcher plus, so the pass catchers with upside. I think that Bigsby is that, but he lands in a spot where he's going to be the grinder as opposed to the ETN space back. But you have the potential, which is why I like the pass catcher plus, to, with an injury or with something that to ETN, he can be the do everything back, for a stretch of time, which is exactly what you're looking for in second, third, fourth round running backs. Is you're looking for the guy who has potential to not only come in and give you a little bit of fantasy production, but come in and give you big fantasy production, come in and give you running back one fantasy production. And that is what Bigsby offers. So
right, how are you finishing out the round?
All right, I'm deferring to Peter Howard. I've got him on the phone. He tells me we have to take Josh Downs.
Wait. He's on the phone with you, even though he said he couldn't be here?
That's it. He's in my ear. Yeah, well, because if he was here, then he couldn't be helping me out. I need that metrics perspective in order to round out my analysis. But we're going Josh Downs. He is a second-tier wide receiver for me pre-draft, is a little bit smaller, can play inside, can play outside, can go down the field, can match up inside and create mismatches. Ended up in Indy in the third round. Is a really interesting player to me. Not necessarily somebody I'm going to reach on, but down here at the end of the second round, I really, really like getting Josh Downs, who is, again, tremendous at North Carolina and gives me Brandon Cooks vibes.
Love it. All right, so let's recap real quick. Round 2. Michael Mayer, Jonathan Mingo, Marvin Mims, Dalton Kincaid, Devin A-Chain, nice run of D's right there, Sam Laporta, Zach Charbonnet falling to the 207. I have to say I did not see that coming, but not sad about it. Well, no, I didn't get him, so I am sad about it. But I did get Kendre Miller, Roshan Johnson, Tajay Spears, Tank Bigsby, and finishing up with Josh Downs. All right, we got some time left, and we finished the second, so let's just keep going, right? So, Bob, what do you think about the 301? Are you taking your shotgun approach at tight end more? Are we chasing the Green Bay wide receiver 2 spot? What are we taking?
Oh, I'm that tight end. I mean, the tight end is really where I want to go. So I'm going to take Musgrave.
Okay, good. I think that's the right pick. I'm sad about it, but it's right.
Just give me all the tight ends, except for one, Zach. Right?
Yeah, I mean Darnell Washington was great, but I mean I'll still take him, but it's
take a shot at him at the end of every single draft if he's still there.
I mean I'll take end of the third.
We are again, like I said, I made the joke. Are we chasing the Green Bay wide receiver too? We're in a new era in Green Bay, so I think going after their tight end is the right move for the guy. I know he's been in the league for 4 years, but he's still an inexperienced quarterback. Like, I think it's the right move. I wish I did it, but I didn't. I think I'm up next. Yes, I am up at the 302. I am going to let a little bit of bias stick out, and I think I'm just going to go for the big wide receiver guy. I know I keep saying that I want to take some shots at tight end, but like I get Schoonmaker being pretty good, but I think they have now 3 pretty good tight ends. They're all the same age, I think.
I think because 2 years older than Kyle Pitts.
The entire league is older than Kyle Pitts. That dude came into the league at 14. It's not their fault. But I am going to, first of all, I'm not taking this, but I am changing the disrespect that J Mike showed here and changing his name to Tank Dell. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman. I like big. I'm a sucker for the next type wide receiver. He's a big dude. He is in Cleveland, which has good wide receivers, but they don't have that. And that's what I like to look for when it comes to wide receivers. If this late and with landing spot mattering a little bit more, we're at the point where we just want usable, and it would be great if they turned into a little bit more. I think Tillman has the ability to have multiple touchdown games, and that's at this point would be just gravy. I'd be thrilled with that.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Cedric Tillman is the way he plays, and his plus ability is in a straight line and being able to separate on like sinking his hips and doing curls and comebacks and back shoulders, which if you think back to Watson and how he has played both in college and in Houston, you have to go back a ways.
I remember who was there.
Man, he was so dominant throwing those balls to the sideline and throwing those timing routes. And Cedric Tillman does that really, really well. So I don't mind that pick. It's not I'm excited because I think, Bob, your process was absolutely right. And Russ, I think the process of attacking Green Bay's receiving core is absolutely right. And attacking their tight end is absolutely right. But Tucker Kraft feels like Mark Andrews to Musgrave's Hayden Hurst.
Ooh.
And I'm going to take Tucker Kraft here.
I get it. He was one of those athletic guys that people were very interested in before the draft. And
taking down notes here.
Third round capital.
Get 2 third-round back-to-back picks and take them both. Okay.
Yes, that's honestly, like you said, tight end, you really do. This is a great year to just shotgun it. You just spread fire and take a bunch of them. And I think it's funny. We go in such cycles of how we feel about, not even how we feel, it's just how we talk about drafts, rookie drafts, where it's just like years ago, we were just like, get your seconds because the value's going to fall. And then we hated this draft because we weren't getting 16 first-round picks. And then we're back to where we were, where it's like we're in the third, and there's a lot of really good players still on the board. There's a lot of good value and good landing spots. I think Bob's right.
It's been a good class since people started talking about it being a good class in 2021.
You get bored and you have to find things to talk about.
You get bored, but you also, there has been this, and this is unique since 2020, since the pandemic, is there has been this real need because the space, especially Twitter, but the podcast space and the analysis space has gotten flooded with a lot of really good people. And in order to stand out, the easy way to do that is to shout louder and shout hotter. And you have seen people do that with this class where, the 23 class is going to have, first round picks in the second round, and no class does. But there were more first round players that went this year than there were last year in the NFL draft. There were another huge swath of day 2 picks. A third of all of the players taken in the first 3 rounds were skill position players. A third. So this is a really good class. It's really deep, but you've got 7 players that you can identify up at the top, which I think makes it a good class. And they're quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. There's another swath of like 5 or 6 guys that it's hard to choose between, but they're really good. And then, man, pick your flavor for the next 15 picks. It's awesome.
All right, so we are hitting close to that hour mark. So let's finish out the third round in a little bit of a quicker fashion. Bob, you are up. Who do you feel like taking?
Let's see. I think we're going to have to go with Reed. We're finally going to have to take him off the board. A lot of Green Bay's going in the third round.
Cousin Jaden going. I like it.
Yeah,
right.
The Capital. I mean, not the greatest situation, but you're in the middle of the third. I think.
Well, it could be super fun. He's great after the catch. Like he's jitterbug after the catch.
All right, we don't know about anything in Houston, but I do know I love a guy named Tank. So I'm going to take Tank Dell here. He actually got a little earlier draft capital than I thought he would, which makes me pretty happy. So I'm going to take it, hope that Tank and CJ Stroud start going to breakfast every morning or whatever the jokes are that make a wide receiver and a quarterback really good with each other. And hope that upside gets there. Again, we know nothing of what's going on in Houston. They don't have anybody where it's like, that's the guy. So I think it's a very good chance to take right here.
Yeah, he gets open. I hate this. I hate this, Russ. You backed me into taking Jalen Hyatt.
That was my choice between those two. I love it.
I don't want to take Jalen Hyatt, but I do think Jalen Hyatt is going to have the potential to be really fun game to game with Daniel Jones because he is a deep threat. He can get downfield.
I'm hitting the wrong button. All right, Bob.
Let's go back to the well and take another tight end, Luke.
Yeah, I was going to take
Schoonmaker.
Is it Schoonmaker? Am I saying it wrong?
Schoonmaker, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the next right spot, and that's where I was going to go if you didn't. I kind of want to take Brenton Strange just because his name is Brenton Strange, and I do like the Jacksonville offense, but I'm not going to. I think I'm going back to the wide receiver well, and another team where some of what they have, they're getting to the older side, and I'm just going to take a dude I think is fun and doesn't. I like Puka Nacua. Can't help it. Landing to the Rams. I know the 5th round capital is a little, especially with some 3rd round wide receivers still there, but he's a dynamic player. He's huge and doesn't necessarily play like that. But on the Rams team where you have Cooper Kupp and
Puka Nacua.
Exactly. So, all right, like they're again, you're in the 3rd. These are all dart throws, so might as well take a dart throw to do that has a chance of just walking on the field because there's no one else to do it. All right, Zach, you're up.
All right. I feel like you've broken the seal on the late round wide receivers. I'm not going to let him fall any further, even though he fell to the 6th. I think potentially has a chance to be exceptional in New England. Was the wide receiver one? Was the wide receiver one before this draft process? If anybody can snap Kayshon Boutte around, it is Bill Belichick. And so it's Keyshawn Booty here.
Love it.
Rocking everywhere.
Chase Brown.
I like that pick. That's a good one.
I'm not leaving a single draft without Chase Brown.
In Cincinnati. Like, that's a great pick.
Who knows what's going to happen with Mixon? They lost P. Ryan. Give me Chase Brown everywhere.
All right, I think I'm up next. Yep, up next. All right, I'm at the point where I don't even know anymore. And I'm going to now just keep sticking with guys who landed in offenses I think they have a chance of sneaking in. Like, I like Abanaconda. He is so fast. And his name just leads to so many good pun team names, even though I hate that. But I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take Zach Evans. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's on the Rams where if they have running backs, they don't seem to like them very much. And I know 6th-round running backs are not really usually very high in the world in the NFL. But it's a team where, again, Akers, who we want to be the old Cam Akers, who not everyone was even high on the old Cam Akers, he has a shot. He has a shot of walking in and finding a role quickly. So I think that's what I'm doing now. Well, I know that's what I'm doing now because I did it.
I like it. I am staying with pre-draft analysis. I am in my running back portion of the program because I'm not sold on many of these wide receivers. I am going Eric Gray, who went to the New York Giants. Yeah, Saquon's there, but Eric Gray is a phenomenal back. He can play all 3 downs. So that's where we're rounding things out.
All right, so let me quick delete that. Let me go back to the board. Let's just go over the whole draft again. Bijan, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jordan Addison, Smith and Jigba, Jahmyr Gibbs, Quentin Johnston, and let's throw Zay Flowers in there, maybe even Will Levis. Like, that is I think that is like your locked in 10-ish. I think it would be a little short-sighted to let Will Levis fall further than that. Yeah. Hendon Hooker, Rashee Rice to end out the first, Michael Mayer, Jonathan Mingo, Zach stealing Marvin Mims from me. Dalton Kincaid, I think, will probably go earlier than the 204 in a lot of drafts. Devin A-Chain, I love that Miami spot. Sam Laporta, Zach Charbonnet falling to the 207. Kendre Miller, Roshan Johnson, Tyjae Spears, Tank Bigsby, love that guy. Josh Downs. And then the third, which we just ran through, Musgrave, Tillman, Kraft, Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, Jalen Hyatt, Schoonmaker, Puka Nacua, Keyshawn Butte, Chase Brown, Zach Evans, Eric Gray. Now here, right before we do completely wrap up, are there any players left that you guys are just like 4th-round guys? I just don't want to leave because I love this dart throw. I'm going with Parker Washington. I'm a little sad on the landing spot because I think if he fell to a place that didn't have such a solid wide receiver 3 like Zay Jones, that he could find his way onto the field. I love me some Penn State pass catchers. So I really like the idea of Parker Washington, and Xavier Hutchinson is another big dude that if this was going into the 4th round, I would take him before the draft ended.
Yeah, I like that one. I still would probably throw a dart on Darnell Washington just in case. Yes. I think he's one of the most athletic tight ends in this class, even though he's probably going to be used as a blocker. Dwayne McBride landed in Minnesota. That backfield is who knows. Yeah. Trey Palmer landed in Tampa Bay. They look like they're getting ready to reset things. So again, not somebody I'm actively going out and targeting, but if you're in the 4th or later of your rookie drafts, A.T. Perry landing in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, there are a couple of players that I'm interested in still at taking some shots at. So,
what about you, Bob? Anyone? Do you still feel like you want to get a grab on?
No, I just at the end of the draft, I try to scoop up Superflex quarterbacks.
That was going to be my next question. Is there a quarterback?
I will just grab them just in case. Most leagues have a taxi squad. They can sit there for a year or two, and you can figure it out later. But you have the rights to them.
Yeah, one of my best friends, his name is Tim O'Connell. His son is Aiden O'Connell. It is spelled
Yes.
differently, but I'll probably draft him in every single draft just to have him on my team. Stetson Bennett, I know he's like 34, but the Rams aren't completely set at running back for the long term because every year I think we're going to hit is Matt Stafford retiring. And I know there was a lot of decent talk about Dorian Thompson-Robinson before the draft, where he might be that guy who gets drafted a little later, but he got drafted really later and to Cleveland, where assuming Watson doesn't do anything off the field to get him off the team, it's going to take a lot for him to see the field. I think that's all the people I care to talk about. Does anybody have any parting shots before we head out?
No, appreciate you having me on. Like this is fun being a part of the Fantasy Cares, and I'm always all for it. It's my favorite thing about the community. So I appreciate it, Russ.
Which we probably should have dropped a lot of things before the show actually started. I just got way too excited because I like talking to these two. I like rookie drafts and all that. But yes, this is the Fantasy Cares YouTube channel. So fantasycares.org. We love every idea of anyone who even thinks about donating. But if you can, hit that up, throw a donation our way. We would greatly appreciate it. One of our biggest investments with those money is Toys for Tots. Every year we do the shopping for the kids. There's pictures everywhere. And we are, looking to grow, looking to expand the charity into bigger, better things. So any penny you could throw us will help. Scott Fishbowl is coming up. So keep your eyes here for, random stuff we start posting, whether it's videos for divisions or live drafts, or if we can get Scott to tell us who we should draft, because I don't know. Right? And the Fantasy Cares Eliminators are coming up. We're going to get John on here to try and tell me who to draft, because while he did put the scoring a little back to somewhat normal, I don't trust John. So there's something in there that I will need to know. So I'm going to try and get him to tell us. After that, again, Russ Fisher, Dynasty at House, Zach Reed at Tacit Assassin 13. That's a tough one to say quickly. Bob Gilchrist at Bob Gilchrist FF. Thank you, everyone. Subscribe. Hit that bell so whenever we drop a video, you get a notification. All those things like that I hear screaming out of my kids' TVs when they're watching YouTube.
It's right there. I'm here. I got the bell.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.